Hey everybody, I am here with Dr. Matt Park, who is the Director of Consulting at Park Counseling and Consulting LLC and creator of the Mental Performance Program. He is a high-performance coach and a mental skills trainer for teams and organizations, including Duke University men's golf team, Web.com PGA Tour professionals, LPGA Tour professionals, and highly ranked junior golfers. In addition to his consulting practice, Dr. Park works at NASA as an organizational development specialist under the AETOS, did I say that right? Contract, assisting
That's
teams, executives, and leaders in achieving optimal performance through leadership and organizational development. As a former assistant professor at John F. K. University in the sports psychology department, Dr. Park integrates research and practical tools to help generate change and performance effectiveness. Hey, Matt, how's it going today?
Hi, BJ. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you taking time out and speaking with us today about just your business and your life, and just looking forward to it.
Of course. Thank you.
So let's dive right in. Just if you can tell a little bit about yourself and how you got into sports psychology and the psychology field altogether.
Great. So how I got into sports psychology, I played college golf. So I played golf in college, grew up playing competitively. And when I was kind of debating whether I should go pro or not, I was working with a sports psychologist at that time, and he kind of opened up my eyes in terms of helping people not only through sport and through golf, but particularly just the mental aspect of it. So a lot of the things that he was doing, I felt like, oh man, I want to learn more about what he's doing. So I kind of dived into looking into grad school. This was after I graduated from college. And I was looking up different programs, and sports psychology was a great marriage of helping people, of the coaching aspect that I love, and also with the whole sport and golf. So went into grad school to pursue my master's in sports psychology. And one of the professors there, she influenced me to continue this psychology path. And she said, they're human beings before they're athletes. So that really opened my eyes, because I felt like sports psychology as a field was very effective. It's great. But sometimes their human behaviors and the personality and the behaviors and the psychology behind athletes and how they perform was also very important to address. So then I decided to get my doctorate in clinical psychology, and I kind of married the two. And now I took a left turn, and I'm doing organizational development. So kind of IO psychology, which is working with organizations and teams. But I love to, bottom line, I love to help people, and I love to help people thrive in whatever pursuit they're doing, whether it's sport, golf, or business. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on now, and I'm doing a lot of performance psychology and high performance psychology, specifically working with golfers and what they do.
Incredible. And so I know we're going to dive into this a little bit later, but why don't we just go straight to there? How did you, I know that you had played golf yourself as well. And it's important, it sounds like, that you had a specialty, like when it comes to your consulting, and that's why you're working with, Duke University men's golf team, Web.com PGA Tour professionals, LPGA Tour. For anyone that doesn't know, that's the women's PGA Tour circuit. So is it important for you to have a niche in your business and your consulting?
I was thinking about that a lot. When you started your business of doing this psychotherapy, the business behind it, the marketing aspect of it, it's so important, I think, to have a niche, to be associated to something. So the power of association is huge when it comes to the marketing and the business side of whatever you're doing. And what I mean by the power of association is, when people think of a challenge or an issue that comes up, oftentimes it's very specific. So, for example, my association is golf, particularly junior golf. So it's not just golf, the field of golf, but it's getting them younger. So I did a lot of research and a lot of things on youth golfers, so junior golfers. And so when junior golf and mental skills comes up, they think of me. And the reason why I think it's really important to narrow your niche in terms of marketing yourself is to really be identified with a certain challenge or being an expert in that challenge, so that people, whenever they're facing something, then they know who the expert in that field is. Mm-hmm. So, when I was an assistant professor in sports psychology, and I was the fieldwork coordinator during my time there, and a lot of the interns, I placed a lot of the interns at different sites and settings, and I was encouraging them to really focus in on specializing in a sport and specializing in a target. So what that might apply to, psychotherapist is, as opposed to being a generalist, because there's so many psychotherapists out there. There's so many people who are wanting to help people. That's the vision of it. But how do you want to help people? What do you want to be known by and as? So if you have research in eating disorders, so if you can go a little bit more deeper on that, so targeting females in college and eating disorders. So if you can really specialize in certain things, and then you have a whole marketing campaign around, writing blogs and putting your name out there and going to different conferences where you're really standing out with that particular niche, then all of a sudden, when people think of college-age females struggling with eating disorders, then what they might do is look for the expert there, and they might then contact, okay, who's an expert in that field, and then they contact you and they find you through the power of association. So that, I think that's huge. I think that's how I started getting a reputation in the golfing community, because I really focused on junior golfers and their kind of pursuit to playing college golf. And then I got connected through, to a lot of universities because of that, because of my work with junior golfers. And then I got kind of connected into the college route.
That's great. Yeah, I can't agree with you more. I think it's so true. A lot of therapists out there, they try to be the generalist. They try to help everybody. And I think there's a fear there in terms of pigeonholing yourself and just saying, hey, I only focus on this, and that means I can't help these other people out there. But that's not necessarily true. And you narrowed down even more. You didn't just talk about golfers, but you focus on junior golfers and helping them, get to college and all that. So, and then through that, it sounds like there was other opportunities that weren't in your niche, but because you were the go-to person and people knew exactly who to refer to you, then you were able to build these other relationships on top of that.
That's great that you mentioned that, because I did have that fear, BJ, when I was targeting junior golfers, because I ultimately wanted to work with professional golfers. That was my big dream, my vision. I wanted to work with the professionals, and I want to be out there on tour and being invited to Augusta and all that stuff. So I didn't want to limit myself by focusing on a particular niche. And but I realized from a lot of my mentors and a lot of things that I've been researching, to really narrow your niche and specialize in one particular thing and becoming an expert in that. Because once you do that, then people start to notice, oh, wow, you have the capabilities and the talents to do other things. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of psychotherapists, they're great at doing, working with depression, anxiety. They can work with the whole gamut of things. Now, if you specialize in something and you become known as the anxiety expert, for example, then you're starting to work with people, and the word of mouth is, not only are they great at anxiety, they also have an incredible, CBT skills to do depression. They have this depression clinic. So it's like, even though you might not market all these different, ways of going about it, and you focus on one particular thing, and you become known as the expert for that. From that place, people will start to figure out that you have the talent to do a lot of other things. So, to give you an example, to illustrate that, I was working with a junior golfer, and we've been working for about eight months. And I put him on a mental skills program, and he was a junior at that time, or sorry, a sophomore, becoming a junior in high school. And I was working with the youth, kind of putting him on a youth elite program that's targeted for youth golf. He took on the program, and it really increased his mental toughness on the golf course. And because he was demonstrating a lot of the skills that I've been teaching him on the golf course, there came a time where college recruits were looking at him, and he did really well at one really big junior golf tournament, and he got a lot of publicity and a lot of notoriety from that event because he did so well. And that's how I got connected to Duke University, where the Duke scout was out there and watching him, and was asking this particular client of mine, where did you learn your mental toughness skills, or how did you demonstrate such resiliency on the golf course? And he said, well, I was working with Dr. Park. He put me on the mental performance program, and they wanted to know more about what that was. And so because of that, now I kind of crossed over into working with college golfers and college athletes. And but that wasn't my target. That wasn't my focus. My focus was on youth sports, and I specialized in that with junior golfers. But then somehow that allowed me to branch over into university playing level golfers.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing what happens when you work with one client that's within your target area, and then or niche, and then provide them obviously the results, because he was getting the results through your consulting and through your sports psychology program. And then from there, it's just Duke Men's University. So I appreciate you sharing that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. But the fear is there. The fear of pigeonholing yourself and limiting yourself. But I honestly think, as opposed to going, very shallow in terms of 1 inch deep and a mile wide, you go 1 inch wide and a mile deep. Mm-hmm. So you really focus in on finding your targeted niche and going a mile deep, as opposed to going an inch deep and a mile wide.
I like that a lot. And then how else are you getting referrals? Is it just through providing that excellent service and then word of mouth, or do you do any referral campaigns, or it just happens organically for yourself?
So a lot of the things is, it's a numbers game. So you got to put yourself out there as much as you can in different outlets, because you don't know which one will strike. Mm-hmm. Right now, I've developed a program, but then also an orientation to the program, and I'm hitting up all these different country clubs, especially country clubs who have youth clinics and junior camps and things like that. So again, finding what my targeted niche is. And here's another thing. So my niche, although I've been targeting junior golf early in my career, a niche can also develop into something else. So now I'm venturing into doing how business leaders and executives can learn mental skills and not only help them in their golf course and in their golf game, but it can also help them in the boardroom and in their companies. So a lot of the times, once you develop a niche and you become an expert for it, then you start to kind of branch off and do other things that the market is kind of leading you towards at that time. Mm-hmm. So right now, what I'm doing is creating a orientation program, and I'm going out and contacting through relations. So I never really, oftentimes I try not to cold call anyone, mm-hmm. because cold calling is really tough. It's really hard for that establishment of trust and for them to kind of invite you in. A lot of times I find out who knows somebody. So I go through my referral source, and I always kind of email them and check up with them. But I always ask, do you know anyone who might be interested in something like this? And that's key for me. So my mentor has helped me a lot in terms of emailing and proper etiquette in terms of reaching out to people. He says, never do you want to put them in a corner where they have to say yes or no to a product of yours or to a service of yours. You always want to give them options. Mm-hmm. And the way that he asked me to tailor my messages is is to write to them, giving them something of value and sharing what you're doing and asking them at the end, do you know anyone who might be interested in something like this? Mm-hmm. Then what happens is that they can either introduce you to someone that they might know, or if they need it for themselves, they'll say, yeah, actually, I do know someone, me. I would like to kind of follow up on you on I'm curious more of what you offer. And going in to offer a free consultation or, a free phone call, conversation of just getting to know your style and the way you approach things and listening to your voice. It's really key to set up that relationship. And I do that early on and just provide that, even though it's a free 1-hour workshop that I have to prepare for, it still gives an opportunity for them to want more. Mm-hmm. So that's the key, I think, is setting these email conversations up front, not pigeonholing them into saying yes or no, but giving them the option and just always leaving with, do you know anyone that might be interested in something like this? And then it gives them a chance for them to escape and send you to somebody, or mm-hmm. a chance to bite and say, hey, actually, I want to do something like that.
Yeah, you mentioned a few things that I want to touch upon. I mean, the first one is that it doesn't, just because you focus on a particular area of expertise, doesn't mean you have to always stay in that area. So as you started off and you focus on junior golfers, now that evolved into, helping golfers in the boardroom through golf and through other ways that they can have those transferable skills in the boardroom or whatever their place of business is. And then you also talked about in the sense that, not having to, when you do focus on a particular niche, then you're going to be able to have, it's all about value, right? Offering value. And it's not painting someone in a corner to say, hey, will you want to work with me or not? Or do you know anyone or not? But, possibly do you know somebody? And later on, developing the relationship and the connection there. Because I know a lot of people out there, and maybe you can touch upon this also, is you said about putting yourself out there, but there's people listening out there that are in business, they have started private practice, and they're so afraid to put themselves out there. So what would you tell that person that's struggling with putting themselves out there in the beginning? Like, what would you say to get over that, or just to be able to work through that?
That's great. There's a quote that comes to mind, and this quote, it says, when you focus on wanting to bless rather than impress, then you have nothing to stress. And it's really adding value. It's what you said. It's when you focus on, okay, what's in it for them? What can I provide them? Even if I get nothing out of this, what would I want for them to experience from this? So when I focus on wanting to bless, and that's really what you focus on. Like, I want to help. I really want to help. I want that their relationship to thrive. I don't want them to go down the divorce path, and I want to help them create a thriving marital enrichment, experience. Whatever it is that you want to create, if you focus on wanting to bless rather than trying to impress people, whether it be public speaking, whether it be being in front of people or meeting someone in an interview, just focus on what you can give them, and then instead of focusing on yourself and trying to impress them, if you really focus on what you can give them, then the stress kind of subsides. You might not feel as overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And also, you have something to give. Everybody has something to give, whether it might be, your niche and your specialty, or it might just be a listening ear. It might just be, an opportunity for them to get to know you, because you might have something that's of value to them, whether they see you as a client or not. Mm-hmm. So whatever exchange it might be, even in an email exchange or in a phone conversation or a sit-down session, when you're meeting somebody in an interview, when you're trying to put yourself out there, if you really focus on, okay, what can I provide? What can I give them that's something of value that they can walk away with, whether I get something in return or not? When you really focus on that, then for me, my experience is that the fear goes away and the stress goes away, because I'm just trying to add value into people's lives. And that's really connecting with my vision and my mission in my life. That my core values is, I'm here on earth for a purpose, and that purpose is really to help people. And that's not necessarily to benefit myself, but it's really to benefit others. And if I can get something along the way with helping people, and I can have resources to continue helping people, then that's my operating system. So I think to kind of back up a little bit and just summarize, it's really focusing on, okay, what's your vision? Why did you go into this field in the first place? What is it that you are trying to create, other than money, other than you becoming successful? What's in it for them? What can I provide that might help them in this one meeting or this one conversation? Then focusing on that, as opposed to trying to make the deal happen or trying to sell yourself and trying to impress them. It's really about what value can I add to their life today, and I focus on that.
And absolutely. And the people I want to work with are never the people at the networking event that's all about, here's my card, call me. It's the people that connect with me and that want to offer value to me and listen to me. And so I think the great thing about psychotherapists is you all have a natural, out there listening, you have a natural ability to connect and listen. And when you focus on that, of how you can add value and how you can listen to that other person that you're connecting with, and those are great points. So I appreciate you saying that. Let's switch. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Last thing I want to add to that.
Absolutely.
So, How to Win Friends and Influence People, a book by Dale Carnegie, and it's all about listening and just ways that you can influence people. And as psychotherapists, a lot of everyone has the gift of practicing on listening skills, active listening skills, and things like that. In this world, in this culture that we're in, everything's so fast paced. So if you can, in a conversation, if you can provide a listening ear, that is something of value. To genuinely listen and to be there for somebody. And Brene Brown talks about empathy and vulnerability. And if you can provide that in a meeting, then you might not have to teach them anything. You might just be a listening ear, but a very effective listening ear. That's providing something of value as well.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that business book. I'll put that in the show notes so people can check that book out. They probably heard of it. It's been around for a really long time. It's a timeless book. Usually I like to ask my guests as well, what's a business book? So thanks for already chiming in with that. I appreciate it. If we can switch gears a little bit, I wanted to talk a little bit about, because I know your wife, Julia, is also a psychotherapist, and she is running her own psychotherapy practice as well in Huntsville, Alabama, correct? So and you're working with her. You guys are working together to with the marketing aspect and the business of building that practice as well. So if you can just share a little bit about what your wife's doing, and then also what are some of the marketing strategies that she's using, and you're working with her on that and working together on that as well, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So Julia, she is specializing in Gottman couples counseling. So John Gottman and Julie Gottman, they are kind of gurus in couples counseling. And so she wanted to find her niche in connecting with helping couples, because by helping couples, you're actually impacting the entire family system. And because the divorce rate is so high, she's responding not only to something that's a passion to her, but she's responding to a need that's out there, especially here in Huntsville and Madison area. It's a Bible Belt. It's a Bible Belt state, and there's so many churches around there. But the divorce rates in churches are just as alarming, if not more, than what's happening nationally. So, a lot of pastors are having a lot, challenges with marriages, and a lot of churches where there's so many different dynamics and stigma around, seeking counseling services. She wants to be able to respond to the need and also provide creative ways of doing a practice. So if there is a stigma on couples coming into couples counseling because of the intensity or what some of the fears that might come up from it, what she decided to do was go get training to become a Gottman trained educator in the 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work workshop. So it's a couples workshop, so like a couples retreat that it's less invasive, it's more educational, and it's really focusing on skills and research of how to make marriages work and how to enrich the lives of marriages. And the whole aspect of it is, whether you Pastor Rick Warren and Kay Warren, they talk about couples counseling all the time, and they said that in marriages they go through seasons. There's summer season, spring, fall, and all. So for the 4 seasons, the best time to work on it is not necessarily during the winter season when things are just chaotic and you're having tumultuous times and challenges. The best time to work on skills is during the summer season when everything's going well and right, because that's when you can invest in your marriage, invest in couples. And so she's really marketing towards it's not just people who are having challenges in their marriages. It's also skills to develop for marital enrichment, even when things are going well. Yeah. And not only sending that message out, but also connecting with different churches. So again, for going back to what I was saying with, mental skills for golf is what I focused on, but specifically I was focusing on junior golf. So particular population within the skills that I'm delivering. So with my wife, she's focusing on couples counseling and marital enrichment, but not only that, really teaming up with churches and doing a lot of workshops, connecting with churches and providing these services within the church walls of saying, your members are hurting. A lot of them might have marriages that are going through different seasons. Now, we want to be able to equip them with skills and tools so that they don't quit on their marriage and impact their entire family system, but they will work on it. They will have something tangible, research-based to do. So that's the marketing strategy, is not only is she providing psychotherapy of people looking, finding her on Psychology Today and contacting her through her website. What she's doing is driving around to different communities and different churches through connections and providing free 1-hour workshops on the guidelines for the 7 principles, and just saying, these are the skills. Let us come and team up with you to collaborate on providing these skills for your congregation and your church members.
Yeah, so that's great. So rather than saying, hey, you're struggling in your marriage, come see me, we'll have a one-on-one session. It's more like, hey, go out there, educate, again, offer value, particularly in not just in the winter seasons, but hey, your marriage is going well, but how can we, enrich it even more? And then also focusing even more narrow on the churches and doing workshops and facilitating these workshops as well to get her name out there. And I'm sure that she's been able to get clients from that as well, just to want to learn more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So adding value and doing things for free in the beginning, because, really want to educate people with the tools and then leave them wanting more. That's the biggest thing. So you're adding value, you're giving them an appetizer, but then you're wanting them to go in depth. And that's when they kind of hire you on to do more work.
Perfect. Well, Dr. Matt, I appreciate your time. How can our audience connect with you? What's the best ways to connect with you online?
Yeah, so I'll give you both mine and my wife's practice. So our website is Park, P-A-R-K, 2, like the number 2, C.org. So park2c.org. Or my wife's, she works at Huntsville Psychotherapy and Counseling Services, and their website is hsvpcs.com. So I'll send you those links. And then again, if you want marriage tips, my wife has a Facebook page that she posts a lot of Gottman stuff and couples counseling related stuff. But I wish all of you luck on your journey of marketing yourself. And it's a lonely experience, because a lot of times you don't know where to start. But I really appreciate what you're doing, BJ, because this is a community of people who want to help people, and allowing them to connect with resources and with other people to just get a head start, or just some tools to go ahead and market themselves, to make themselves available to help more effectively. That I think that's key. So if anybody who listens to this wants to connect with me or my wife, please feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah, thanks for that. I appreciate that. And what was the Facebook link? Do you have it on you? If not, we can just get it later and I can put it in the show notes.
Yeah, I believe it's Julia Park LMFT.
Okay.
So facebook.com, Julia Park LMFT.
Okay. And I'll be sure to put all the links in the show notes page so you can all check it out also.
Absolutely. Thank you again, BJ.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Matt. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your knowledge. Have a great rest of the day.
All right, you too.